A lot of voiceover artists need to sound conversational because it's by far the most requested type of gig that's out there. Girl next door, guy next door, just a real person talking, right? But the truth is, it's not easy to sound conversational. And that might be exactly why you're not booking as much as you want. Because voiceover at its core is about sounding like you're not reading, even though you absolutely are. And in this video, I'm going to show you exactly how to do that. Here's what this means for you. If you can nail this, if you can sit down in front of a microphone and take someone else's script and make it sound like you're just talking to a real person, you're going to book way more. You're going to get paid a lot more, and your clients are going to keep coming back over and over because not a lot of people can actually pull this off. So by the end of this, you're going to understand exactly why you might not be sounding as conversational as you think and what you can actually do about it. Now, I've been doing voiceover for a while. I've worked with clients all over the world, 74 different countries. I totaled them up the other day, and over 7,000 voiceover jobs. And what I can tell you is the one thing separating people who are constantly booked from people who are struggling is the ability to sound like a normal person when you're talking into a microphone. I didn't have any training for this at all. People just told me for years, you've got a good voice. Are you in radio? Do you do voiceover? And for years, I would say, no, should I? And they're just like, yeah. So I finally pulled the trigger, started figuring it out. I did community theater and musicals, which is kind of the opposite of conversational. You know, it's more dramatic. But I figured out how to make it work, and it changed my life. And if you're starting voiceover for the first time and you need help putting it together, I left my link in the description. We can set up a call, time to talk, just see what you want to do and see if I can help. But before we can sound conversational, you got to understand why you probably don't right now. The first reason is you're reading instead of communicating, right? There's a big difference. If you're focused on getting every single word perfect, you're not going to focus on the overall message. You're going to just focus on the words. And that's why sometimes you can sound real stiff and cold. But you can't be afraid to have your own voice, right? And your own pacing. You got to read through a script a couple times so you feel comfortable delivering it in a natural way. The second reason is you're probably trying to sound like a voice actor. But you are a voice actor. You're reading a script. So you got to take yourself out of your head and start talking as if you're not sure what you're going to say next. You know, you have to change your emphasis on certain syllables and take pauses in different spots in a sentence that you wouldn't normally if you're just reading something. Maybe you got this idea in your head of how a voiceover actor is supposed to sound, and you're chasing that instead of just sounding like yourself. What clients want right now is you. They hear your voice and your samples, and that's what they want. If they wanted AI, AI is there trying to sound perfect, but, it sounds like crap. And so that is what keeps me and other voiceover artists like you in business. But we're just trying to get you better, just trying to get you that conversational sound. So just sound like you. And the third reason is that you're overthinking every word. I do this too, and you have to catch yourself. You have to do what you need to do to get every word right when you're reading someone else's script. You can't change the script, so that's not what I mean. But what you're doing is analyzing every single word and squeezing the life out of it. And sometimes it almost closes your throat because you're trying so hard not to mess up every single syllable. So you just have to kind of relax and just let go. People can hear when you're stiff and you tighten up. So here's where you can actually start. This is all mental, okay? It's not technical. You got to treat the script like it's your idea, not someone else's words that you're stuck reading. It's your idea because every script you get is someone else's words. That's the gig, right? But it's your job to take those words and make them sound like they came from you. And the way you start doing that is by asking yourself one simple question. Who are you actually talking to? Picture a real person, like an actual face, because when you picture a specific person, you actually start to settle in a little more. You sound like you're having a conversation instead of presenting something to some invisible audience out there. You'll find the way your voice trails off, like when you're talking to someone at the end of a sentence. It's an interesting dynamic. So you got to ask yourself why you're telling them this. you have to internalize what you're talking about. You can't just be reading the words. You have to think about it. So what you're actually reading. So would you smile when you're saying this, or would you be frowning? You're acting. So you have to envelop the entire character of what it is you're talking about. If you know in your head why you're saying this to a person, it's going to come across a lot more natural, right? And when you think about what you want them to feel or do when they're done listening, do you want them to buy something, be entertained, click on something? You got to think about the end goal. When you keep that in mind, everything you say has a reason behind it. And that comes across when you're saying it. So you're yourself, but you're also a character. You can't come across as stale and scripted. These are now your ideas. This is your script. These are your words. So now here we are. Here's some actual tools you can use. The first one is the look away method. You see me doing it a lot. You read a line in your head silently. You process what it's actually saying, and then you say it out loud like you're pulling it off the top of your head. This works especially well with shorter lines like commercial copy. But the idea is the same across the board. You're not reading, you're communicating, right? The next one is the springboard technique. You add a phrase or a line before you actually start the script, something to get your brain into conversation mode before the real words kick in. It tricks your brain into thinking you're already mid-conversation before the script even starts. This is so key. And then there's the hesitation method. You got to be careful with this one. It's where you make a slight pause, sometimes even mid-word, and that makes it sound like that thought is like bubbling up as you speak. When you use it right, it sounds completely natural. When you overdo it, it sounds forced. So just drop that in here and there. That's it. And then contractions. A lot of scripts are going to have things like I have or you will. And when you're talking, you just normally say I've or you'll. And obviously, if the client wants it to the letter, they'll come back with a revision. But in my entire voiceover career, I can count on one hand the amount of times I've been asked to change it back. I mean, most people want it conversational. They want the contractions. Now, here's the big thing about all these things. A lot of people try to use them mechanically, like, okay, I need to do hesitation here, contraction there. And when you do that, it sounds stiff. You can't force it. You have to feel it. If it feels right in the moment, do it. If it doesn't, leave it alone. Because the whole reason you might not be sounding conversational right now is that you're focused on the performance instead of the connection. And connection is what makes people actually lean in and listen. Anybody can pick up a script and read words off a page, but your job is to take those words, turn them into a feeling, and get that feeling across every single time. Picture a real person when you're doing this, when you're doing your reads. Say the words to them, not into the microphone. And let the small imperfections stay, like a breath, a pause, a slight stumble. That's what separates a real human voice from an AI voice. And that's so big right now because everybody is sick of the AI voices. I made a video about those. Take a look at that. It blew up because everybody's tired of hearing that, right? This is a skill. It's not some talent you're born with or you're not. The more you practice this, the more natural it gets. And when you get it right, you go from sounding stiff and scripted to sounding natural, conversational, and a whole lot more hireable. So here's something I want you to think about before you go, or before I go. Well, before we both go, whatever. Everything I just said to you in this video, every single word of it was scripted, all of it. I wrote it out and read it. But I scripted it in a way that was meant to sound like I'm just talking, moving my hands, looking away from the camera, taking pauses at unexpected moments, because I wanted to show you that it's possible to read a script and not sound like you're reading a script. And yeah, it takes practice, but it is absolutely possible, and it'll make you a whole lot more money because a lot of people can do the traditional voiceover sound, but sitting at a microphone and sounding like a normal person having a conversation, it's a lot harder to find. And when clients find someone who can do it, they don't let them go. So if you want to get some coaching from me on how to deliver your voiceovers with this conversational tone, just click the link in the description and we'll talk. And I'll see if I can help you or not. Either way, Thanks for watching. Really do appreciate it. Hit the like button and subscribe if you haven't, and I'll catch you in the next one.